And there are two sort of main types of sort of university, aren't there? Really, sort of campus, and then you've got your kind of your city version, or your version where things are sort of interspersed with the city or with the town, and they're quite different, really, aren't they? Those two.
Yeah, and that was something that I was always very cautious of. So I come from, you can close your eyes and imagine it, a little pit village in County Durham, where the centre is the co-op and the fish and chip shop, and then there's a few houses around it, and you have to walk to get anywhere because there's no buses. And I kind of saw the bright lights of London and all the other cities. It wasn't just Star VC at the beginning, there was all of this choice, and I was very dead set on being at a city university. But what I thought the problem with veterinary was, by the time you kind of expand into the higher years, you just need a lot more space, and so you find that there's a separate campus that tends to be more of a campus university, and that was something that always I kind of put to the back of my mind, and I thought, well, I'll have had my years in the city and then I can move to the campus because it's what I have to do. And since moving to the more campus side of things, so for the first 2 years I lived in Camden, so in central London. Well, what to me is central London. I don't know whether it actually is central London to Londoners, but like in the hustle and bustle of it all. And then last year I moved out to Hawkshead, which is in Potters Bar, so it's about 15-minute train journey from King's Cross, but definitely more in kind of suburbia. Like there's not people like barging past you on the street, and all the hustle and bustle. And I was really cautious that I wasn't going to like that transition. But from living in both aspects of a city university and a campus university, there's pros and cons of both. And I really think that it is very, very good choice to kind of consider which you think you will prefer, because there's definitely a different vibe on both of them. But I also think that it's just one of the many factors that kind of plays into a university, but definitely something to consider.
Definitely, and you do get some unis, for example, like Aston Uni is like a campus uni, but it's in the middle of a city. It's in the middle of Birmingham, and then you've got Birmingham Uni, which is a campus on the edge of Birmingham. So, you know, you've got, and that's just two universities in one city that are completely different. And then you've got more traditional campus ones like Loughborough, Essex Uni, and you've got King's College. That's like all these buildings interspersed into London. You've got Portsmouth, which is technically a city uni, but actually because it's not a very big city, you can walk to all the different buildings. So that's why, again, these virtual tours, or if you can go in person, are really helpful, because you actually get that feeling for it, don't you?
Yeah.
I just want to cover as well, kind of going back to our Ucas applications, how important is it to declare all your grades on your Ucas application?
Very important. Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you put all of them down, because if they're not put down, we will, well, if you're lucky, we will inquire about it. But if not, some unis might, you know, might reject you on that basis. So make sure you do put everything down.
Yeah. And I think it's really important as well. So, I mean, I can sit here and no one would ever know now, but I actually applied to RVC and missed my grades initially. So I had to resit one of my A levels. And at the time, like, I resented the fact that I had to do that. And I was kind of a bit embarrassed by it. But I think that what you have to remember is, if this university is right for you, then they'll take you on the points that you've succeeded, and maybe where you've missed something or you feel like you could have done better. It's always a learning curve. And I think the true thing in a university is that they want people that can kind of reflect and be able to focus on what they're good at, but be able to see where they can improve. So just because you might not have like A's across the board, or you might not have all C's, just know where your strengths lie and be able to use that, rather than having to hide things, which you should obviously never do. But it's not always a bad thing to have to learn the harder way.
And don't be tempted to try and change any grades or make it look better. You know, put on what you've got, put your retake. I had a retake on there when I applied to uni. It's fine.
Same.
With our as well with our access students, I know that if the best thing with access, just speak to our students, is that they need to check with the universities individually. So if they've got certificates or qualifications from quite a while ago, check with your uni that you're applying to and see whether they need those. So you need these certificates and stuff. They may not, but it's worth checking. And
yeah, make sure. Yeah, because we've seen everything, of course, in admissions. So we're so used to seeing. I mean, my application was flooded with resits. We don't mind about resits. It's absolutely fine. Put them up. But also on that point, Emma, you mentioned access students. We might have the other problem where if you are a mature student, you might be feeling a bit intimidated by the fact that you might be joining cohorts where people are 18, 19, but and I'm sure Beth can talk about her peers at the moment, but when you go to uni, it's just the cohorts are flooded with people of all different ages, races, nationalities. It is so incredibly diverse that you'll probably find there's quite a lot of a collection of mature students there, and also there's some just great cohesion between all of the different age groups. Beth, have you got any students that are mature in your class?
Definitely. I've met people that I thought that I would never meet, and it's opened my eyes to all sorts of different kind of cultures, different kinds of people, different personalities, and that's a big one. You are going to meet people that you probably wouldn't choose to spend time with, and that's fine. You might have to work with them professionally, but you can kind of decide who you're friends with. But for example, for these exams that we've just sat, I've been on Zoom with one of the boys. He already has a degree, and he works in a very similar learning style to me. We were in a learning group at uni, and that's been great because he's older, but he brings a lot of kind of mature thoughts, and kind of when things didn't go as well today, he had a lot of kind of things to say. But I know that he enjoys working with someone like me that's kind of really bubbly, but to be honest, age, I know people say it, but it really is just a number. I mean, I went to RVC when I was 19, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I am so old, when really I'd had like a year out. The majority of people at RVC often do take a year out, whether it's by choice or because they're forced to because of their grades. And there's people that have children that I can still find things in common with to have a conversation. So even if you're shy or loud or from one type of family or another, it really doesn't matter, as long as you can kind of open your eyes as much as you want someone else to open their eyes for you. And it's great. You find so many opportunities and people that can help you in the weirdest of ways. So definitely go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of follow on from that, it's really important for access students to include their modules on their Ucas application. So particularly access students, and also this is dependent on different courses you might be on for courses in general, not just access. So some qualifications like engineering, their unis might want to see what modules you're studying because they're different depending on what engineering course you're studying. So ask the uni or get in touch with us in careers if you're unsure about kind of what to put on, and because some unis want to see them and some don't mind, so it's fine. When you're sending your Ucas application, make sure you get your application ideally into us at SEC if you're an internal student before Christmas, because then it's got a whole process to go to. It comes to us first, we have a look at it, we check it all through for you, we send it back to you, we go through a personal statement with you, everybody's entitled to a one-to-one, then we send it off for reference, and then it goes to the universities. So there's a decent process of a good 10 days, so try and get them in before Christmas, then you get a break, and then you don't have to worry about it missing the deadline of the 15th of January deadline.
Yeah, you don't want that stress, do you? And the 10th of January or the 14th, God, yeah, I'm sure.
And the faster, from my experience, the faster you get your application in, the faster you get your offers. It's as simple as that. If you get it in first, you're the first one read, and then you can start making decisions about your future. and it's a lot easier to revise for exams or get your coursework in on time if you can suddenly see that that's the gateway to you strutting around Manchester at your new university life or wherever you want to be. So make sure, and also organisation is key at university. Suddenly you have to cook, clean, and do everything for yourself, as well as kind of take hold of your academic life as well. And if you're not taking on small organisational tasks at college where there's so many people to support you, and just like getting the piece of paper in that will make your future, then you haven't got your priorities straight. So start with organisation and prioritising your time properly, and everything else will fall into place.
Absolutely. Because just to cut in there, Emma, because as Beth said, in admissions, people we would be working up until the 21st, 22nd of December, and a lot of people do take annual leave in January. So make sure you can get your personal statement in as quick as possible, and then potentially you might have something certainly in the processed before Christmas, and that might look quite good for you. But yeah, as Bev said, you really the big transition from sort of college to university is becoming an independent learner and an independent thinker, and so the more you can get used to that transition at college, the better your university experience will be.
Definitely. And if you, for example, if you sent it to us on the 10th, then it has a 10th of January, the application has a potential to go late because it can take up to 5 days to get a reference. So that's just for us at SEC. So just
and I know it's so I do know it's so intimidating writing a personal statement. You think, 47 lines, that's not much, but we all know it's so much harder trying to cut down than what it is to add. So, but don't be too intimidated by it, but one top tip is make sure you double check it. And I'm sure obviously Emma and the team at South Essex will also help you with this, but make sure there's no grammatical errors, make sure there's no spelling mistakes, because there's nothing worse, particularly if you're a selective university and you've got a pile of hundreds to read, and then you get one that's flooded with spelling mistakes. It's really, really, sounds so basic, but it's really not going to look good for you. So make sure you do, show it to multiple different people, read it out loud, and don't try. So for example, we get hundreds of personal statements every year that's, ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to be a vet. Now, although that might be true, if you're reading hundreds of the same opening line, that can get really, really repetitive. So try to not do that, and but also don't try and make it too fancy and just flood it with quotes. Just make it personal to you. And I think the key is, instead of telling us what you did, perhaps at school or outside of school with work experience potentially, we're more interested in what you learned from that experience. So try to be critical and try to evaluate, what you've done at school and how that has reaffirmed your choice of studying X at university. So try to be more analytical and evaluate.
And we can support you with your personal statements. We've got some great documents internally on our careers page, and we can give you a one-to-one, and we can support you with the structure of those and the opening lines and everything like that. So we can help you with those for internal students. Just to cover a couple of frequently asked questions. So we've got one, what happens if you miss the official Ucas deadline? Will you still be considered? Yes, but it may affect your offers. So that's important to remember. The buzzword to link your applications to the college is SEC 2021. So that means that we can see your applications. When will I start receiving offers? So some people start getting them after 24 hours, some later than that. You've got to log into your track, right?
I'll just interrupt there and say I remember, because everything when you apply, if you're applying before the 15th of October, things tend to go slow because they tend to be the courses that require interviews and such. And I remember sitting in the library and people were getting, I'd sent my application off months ago, and people were getting offers within 12 hours, 24 hours. And I remember sitting and thinking, these people have just sent them off. Why can't it be me getting the offers? Because I was literally like, it was kind of, well, it was what I wanted to do, and I've worked so hard for it. And so, yes, if people get offers, then that's fab within 24 hours. But also, it's not a bad thing. Like, no news is good news. So just because you haven't heard from the university doesn't mean that you've been rejected. So do kind of keep an optimistic mind, although it can be difficult, and kind of do celebrate with your friends. But remember that it doesn't mean that you're out just because that you've not heard anything.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Just the last kind of couple of questions. So if I'm a previous student at the college, will the college support me? Yes. So at SEC we will, and most colleges and schools will support you for up to 3 years after leaving college or school, but check with the college that you went to, but we do, so check with us. Do you have to have a reference? Yes, you do. And if you're a current student, they'll provide you with your predicted grades as well. And then just a kind of a last question, I just want to ask you, Beth, what do you wish that you'd known when you were doing your Ucas applications? What would have been really useful for you to know?
I think one of the things that would have been useful is that everyone around you feels the same. So a lot of the time it can feel quite isolating, in the sense that it's a lot of pressure on one piece of paper, on one application. And I think it's really important to know that a lot of people will show that pressure in different ways. And some people will say a lot and some people will say a little. But I think it's really important to know that everyone's in the same boat, and to be respectful of that as well. So if you're one of the people that gets an offer in 12 hours, amazing. Nobody's taking that away from you. But just be aware that there might be people that had a rejection, or they haven't heard anything. So you've just got to be sensitive about the matter. Another thing I'd say is don't let anybody tell you no. You'll get a lot of opinions. Some of them will be more valid than others. And we discussed that actually it's what you think and that the people immediately supporting you that matters the most. But a lot of people think they know a lot about you or about these situations, but really it's your teachers that are going to help you the most, and then whoever's at home. So don't be put off by some lady in the street saying that veterinary is one of the hardest things, because yes it is, but why shouldn't it be your bum on the seat? And then the last thing is probably, and as much as you might kind of cringe at me saying it now when we're trying to promote people, is, but be aware what happens if things go wrong. Because for me, I done well at GCSE, I'd done well at AS level, and then things didn't go my way at A level. And suddenly I had to make decisions that, if I'd made them too quickly, could have really affected me. So a lot of people, and I'm sure your teachers will talk to you more at the time when kind of things progress in the timeline, but be aware that there's different options, and it doesn't mean that you either aren't going to university or that you have to pick a different course there and then. So just keep your options open and be aware of alternatives along the way, and say yes to everything.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's options available for you if you don't get the grades that you want, or it doesn't work out for you, and that's something we can actually really support you with. So you can come and have a one-to-one with us in careers, and we can chat to you about that and work through your options.
Because every university goes into clearing, and well, virtually every university goes into clearing. So you might find a real hidden gem, or a course potentially that you didn't quite have the grades for initially, but when it goes into clearing, you might be able to achieve. So
definitely. So I was offered human medicine in clearing, and everyone said take it. Just why wouldn't you take human medicine? Like, it's the same thing, just without the fur. Like, go for it. And I was adamant that I didn't want it. And so having a plan made me realise that actually I wanted to be a vet. I didn't just want to have kind of a medical career. So there's definitely no like hope for the best, but be prepared if things don't go your way. And there's nothing wrong with asking for opinions of people that have done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming to speak to us about Ucas applications and making your choices. Is really, really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's been great. And just want to say it's going to be so, I'm actually quite jealous. Actually, this is going to be one of the most exciting periods of your life. So if you can just get your application in, and hopefully the offers will flood through, then you can, you know, focus more on your studies at SCC, and then just look forward to what is going to be an absolutely incredible 3, 4, 5 years, with truly some of the best years of your life. So enjoy it.
Agreed.
Internal students, come and chat to us as well. You know, we can support you with your UCAS, we can support you with jobs, CVs, cover letters, interviews, other HE options. Come and speak to us in careers, send us an email, and we'll have a chat with you. So yeah, so you've got lots of support. But thank you so much.
Amazing stuff.
Thank you, guys.